three-way dance, all-out war. Fisk versus Mr. Negative versus Mysterio with Spider-Man and his allies caught in the middle. Will the Sinister Six destroy New York before they destroy each other? Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 19. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 18 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Picotech suit. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by his spider's bite to fight crime alongside Green Goblin, aka Harry Osborn, co-CEO of Oscorp. Turns out Harry's wife, Gwen Stacy, is also Mysterio, one of the Sinister Six who rule New York. But after the Sinister Six kidnapped Peter and Harry, Gwen betrayed them. Peter's family went on the run for protection, but Harry called the Parkers back to help him, and Gwen waged war on the Kingpin and his allies. Little did they know Peter's son Richard had been lured into Kingpin's trap by the Black Cat. In a fast forward after the events of the Kingpin's trap, Richard meets with the Black Cat on a rooftop. He is concerned about how she's doing, but she says, "I'm okay. How about you?" He explains that he shouldn't even be here. The Black Cat says, "Did you get in trouble because you ran away to help me or because of what you did?" Richard Parker says, "Both." Black Cat says, "Well, then you probably deserved it, don't you?" He just looks at her. We then go back and see Richard Parker surrounded by Kingpin, Bullseyes, and Black Cat. Richard Parker says, "How could you do this?" Black Cat replies, "It's my nature." Kingpin then says, "So what's it going to be, kid? The pain and the suffering of betraying your fellow heroes, or just pain? Or pain and suffering? I'm fine with whatever way you want to go." The Bullseyes are getting closer and closer as the Venom Pico suit says, "What are you going to do, Richard?" Richard says, "I don't know. I'm scared." The Pico suit says, "I can take over if you want me to." "Do you?" Richard Parker says, "Yes." Then the Venom suit says, "Close your eyes, son, and don't open them until I tell you to." Now, with his back against the wall, Richard gives full control for the first time to the Venom Pico suit, and the AI takes over. The suit is in control, taking on a more monstrous form, one more in line with the traditional 616 interpretation of Venom. He is truly Venom now, as Miles and Rouse had given him the idea to call himself Venom. This Venom is huge, with black tendrils emerging from his body and teeth that are scary as hell. As Venom goes to work, he quickly takes out Bullseyes, either stringing them up with his tendrils or sticking black venom ooze in the eyes. The Kingpin asks, "What are you?" The main Bullseye says, "We can't stop this. Get the boss out of here." Kingpin opens the door and starts running as the slaughter of the Bullseyes continue. Venom is raging beast as blood splatters everywhere. He then looks at Felicia Hardy and her dad as a venomous black ooze flows into the mouth of the original Black Cat. Felicia Hardy says, "Stop it," as Venom screams out loud and she begs, "Please." Later in a flash forward, Richard Parker says, "I'm sorry we scared you." Kingpin, Walter Hardy, and Felicia Hardy escape. At Fisk Towers, James Weasley says, "We thank everyone for coming, especially considering the state of things. Hopefully this will be brief. We only have a few items to cover today." The Kingpin says, "It's been months. Where is he?" Referring to Craven missing. Mr. Nega replies, "I can tell you that Craven hasn't left our territories by any of the means we normally use. I've also been to both his estate and preserve and questioned everyone there. I was thorough in the way only I can be. No one on his staff knows where he is, but everyone is concerned. He's never disappeared like this before, and they assume the worst. We know that Craven went to the Savage Land, which is Mole Man's territory, his safe haven, and captured Harry Osborn and Peter Parker, where he tortured them, and then started a savage hunt. But Gwen Stacy, who is one of the five Mysterios, saved Harry Osborn and Peter Parker and shot Craven right in the head. Another Mysterio is James Weasley, was also in this meeting. The Mole Man says there are plenty of ways to slip through our fingers unnoticed. Maybe he got tired of all this. Maybe he decided to hole up in some peaceful corner of the world and watch the sunrise. The Kingpin thinks this is ridiculous, and they ask Mr. Weasley what he thinks. Mr. Weasley says nothing on my end either, and not to make matters worse, but perhaps it's time to consider our worst case scenario. Kingpin says, you think he's dead? Weasley replies, no, worst case, he is working with the Mysterios. The Mysterios have been attacking gang war style the other bosses in the Sinister Six. Mr. Negative says, I would think the worst case is much worse than that, namely, so could one of us. The Kingpin asks, is that a guess or something more? Mr. Negative replies, take it however you like, but no one at this table has suffered more at the hands of a traitorous ex-colleague than me. Mysterio and his confederates have destroyed the two more of my warehouses, while all of you conveniently remain untouched. Perhaps the best course of action on this front is for me to take control of each of you. Pick under the hood, just so I can be sure. The Mole Man empathetically denies his request, and the Kingpin says, you wouldn't dare, and even if you did, we both know you're not powerful enough to dominate my will. Mr. Negative says, that was years ago, I'm stronger now. The Kingpin pauses to think and says, look at what we've done to us. This is no world for justice or heroes. I have been obsessed with mystery instead of adversity. You are right. We'll deal with this Craven when we learn more. Until then, we have true enemies to crush. Walter Hardy then speaks up. Walter Hardy, the former Black Cat who was thrown off the building by the Green Goblin and bears the scars from the ooze of Venom, says, and what about the monster? Mr. Negative questions. More secrets, Kingpin. The Kingpin says, Mr. Hardy and I laid out a trap with what I now suspect to be the begrudging assistance of his daughter. I was hoping it would be Spider-Man. Instead, it was a nightmare. And while I suppose personal desires and divided loyalties are something we're going to have to deal with regarding the younger generation, young Felicia will remain at arm's length for a while. She did swear that it wasn't Spider-Man and that she doesn't know his real name, or that he would transform into a beast, but her father thinks she might be lying. I've stayed out of it for now, but soon enough I'll have the name one way or another. The Mole Man then says, and what do we plan to do when you get it? The Kingpin replies, in no particular order. I'm going to kill him, then Spider-Man and Mysterio and the Goblin. Mr. Weasley has a listening device, and the Green Goblin is listening in to the plans as Gwen Stacy Mysterio says, thank you, Mr. Wesley. Later, after the meeting, the Mole Man, who has been aware of Peter Parker's identity as Spider-Man, let Spider-Man go after Craven was shot. The Mole Man then arrives at Peter Parker's apartment. Spider-Man says, you're never going to believe this, but I stop by every day hoping someone might show up. I didn't know who it would be, but I waited and waited. So finally the alarm goes off super loud just when I happened to be here. I guess I should have assumed it would be you since you know my secret identity, but I didn't. Oh man, look at what you've done to this place. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a decent contractor in this city, and how I'm supposed to explain this to my wife when we move back in? The Mole Man then says, it's amusing that you think your family's ever going to be able to live here again, Peter Parker. They're coming for you. They don't know who you are yet, and because I am complicit, I've kept what I know secret for now. But believe me, it's just a matter of time until they do. So I wanted to warn you. Spider-Man says, I don't get it. I don't understand why you helped us in the jungle or why you want to help me now. And how on earth did you come through the wall? We're not even on the bottom floor. The Mole Man says, that's just how my powers work. And to answer the more important questions, let's just say I don't care for who I've been associated with over the years. And I've been looking for a way out. Now I think I found someone and something powerful enough to end this for good. Spider-Man says, I think you might have the wrong guy. There are lines I won't cross, things I won't do, Mole Man says, and your friends feel the same way because I saw what you went through. Spider-Man remembers the torture that the Craven inflicted on him and Harry Osborn, while the Mole Man just watches those images change a person, and even though the Mole Man is giving Spider-Man good advice, he can't accept it for what he did. Spider-Man says, I think you should leave. The Mole Man says, just remember, that offer stands. I can help you. A good bit later, Richard Parker opens up the window and comes home, but he gets caught. Spider-Man, Peter Parker webs him up. Spider-Man warns Richard Parker about his language. Mary Jane says, Richard Parker, I don't even know what to say to you right now. Actually, I know exactly what to say. If you think being grounded comes with some kind of selective participation, then maybe I need to grab your biggest book and beat you to death with it. And if you think for 1 second that suit can protect you from me, you're wrong. Venom chimes in, I told you this was a bad idea. Peter Parker then says, I think we should maybe take a moment and everyone calm down. Son, your mother and I are going to talk about what to do with you while you sit here and think about what you've done. Peter Parker tells the suit for Richard Parker not to leave. As Mary Jane and Peter Parker want to have discussion, they are greeted in the hallway by Mary Jane's mom, who hears a lot of racket and wants to know what's going on. They are all staying at her mom's house, and Gail has an obsession with Ben Parker, but Mary Jane says this stuff has to wait until later. Now it's time for a heart-to-heart between Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Mary Jane says, gotta say I've officially reached my limit. I've had enough. What are we doing, Peter? Peter says, parenting. Mary Jane looks shocked as Peter's spidey senses go off. Peter Parker says, it's possible. Talking more about Richard Parker here? Then he says, oh boy. As his spider senses further goes off, Mary Jane with her head down says, I feel like I've taken all this pretty well, that I've been a pretty good mom and wife. Peter Parker says, no, you've been an amazing wife and even better mom. Mary Jane pauses and then says, when you first started out, I forgave you for keeping it from me. I know you were going through something, and I was patient. You let me know when you were ready. When you and Harry were kidnapped, I took care of the kids. I did my best to remain calm, even though it was anything but. And when you said it was time to run, I ran as hard as I could. But this stuff with Richard, I thought it might, I don't know, be fun for the two of you, help you grow closer to him. And maybe that's how it started. But Peter, that suit is dangerous. Peter Parker says, MJ, he's safer in that suit than you were walking across the street. Look, that doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean I'm not also terrified when he puts it on. But for the time being, after what he's backed into, him sleeping in that thing, Mary Jane cuts in. And what about May and me and my family? We might be dragged into this by hiding out here. What about Ben? Peter Parker then says, what about everyone? We're all trapped in this city with these maniacs in charge. It's why they have to be stopped. It's why this has to end. We have a plan. Peter Parker tries to explain the plan, but Mary Jane says, and you trust them, Harry and Gwen? Peter Parker then pauses for a moment and says, I trust Harry. He trusts Gwen. Mary Jane just shakes her head. Peter, I just don't know how much more of this I can take. Peter Parker says, tell me what you need me to do. He adds, seriously, anything. Mary Jane says, I don't want to ask anymore. Mary Jane then says, I know that you've answered every question I've had, but I don't want to have to do that anymore. I want you to tell me everything I need to know about you, about Harry and Gwen and everything you're up to. No more lies by omission. No more secrets. Peter Parker says, are you sure, MJ? Because some of the Harry and Gwen stuff is bad. Mary Jane says, I'm sure, Peter. I'm sure. Tell me everything. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 20.